Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Christian Indie Writers Podcast, where we inform, encourage, and support Christian indie writers on their journey toward publication. I'm Christina Catane, and I write in multiple genres, including Christian dystopian fiction.
I'm Jennifer Carl Tong, and I write historical Christian romance.
I'm Jamie Hirschberger. I write short fiction under the pen name J.R. Nichols.
I'm Rhonda Hagerman, and I write fiction and nonfiction.
Okay, good morning, everyone. Thank you to everyone who's listening to us live and all our listeners on iTunes and all the other platforms where our podcast is broadcast. YouTubers, if you like what we do, remember to subscribe and hit the little bell button so you get notifications when we go live. And if you're on Facebook, also like us, comment, share, and let all your friends know about us. So we like to start each episode with a little segment we call What's Up. And this is where we tell everyone what's up in our lives. So Jamie, how about you go first?
I knew you were going to pick on me first. And I'm sitting here thinking I had so many things this week that I was going to say during the What's Up. But then when it came to my podcast prep, it completely left my mind to even think about. Let's see. I will tell you that our air conditioning went out, which is sort of a big deal in Florida. But fortunately, there was like a company that could come like right away. And it was really not so bad. We only were like one day in the swampy misery. So shout out to the air conditioning guys around the South. Thank you so much for keeping everybody cool. What's up with you, Tina?
Well, today is a special day in the lives of our family because it is my only grandchild, really, her third birthday.
Aww.
Yeah, so we're out here at the campground and getting ready to have a little birthday party for her. So prayers that the thunderstorms stay away would be greatly appreciated. So my daughter bought her a huge yellow rubber ducky floaty.
Aww.
And we really like to take her out on the lake and let her float on it. So
that's going to be so cute and totally picture worthy. Make sure you get pictures.
Yes.
I can't wait till I have grandkids and I can buy toys for myself and say, oh, it's for my grandkids.
Look, not to be, I don't know how to put this, but I don't need a floaty because I am a floaty.
I love floaties though. There's nothing like that going to that same lake that Tina's talking about and just getting on some sort of floating device, even if it's a couple of noodles and just kind of around the lake, just lay there because it's just super calm and
And when it's 96 degrees out, if you stay in your bathing suit when you get out of the lake, you're cool the whole rest of the day.
Yeah.
That's my trick. What about you, Rhonda? What's up with you?
Let's see. Well, estate sale season is in full swing here in Michigan. You got to wear a mask and try not to pass out in the heat. But yes, it is a glorious time for me right now.
Any unusual finds lately? You find anything cool when you were hunting?
Yesterday, I found the coolest picnic basket. And that may sound dumb, but I was looking for a container that I could put like my table napkins and stuff in and put it on a shelf instead of having to find a drawer somewhere to keep those in. And that really fit the bill. And I need to do it, but it's so cute. I
love that because I like to just, like you said, if you have a storage need, why not buy something adorable to be the store? Like I've got this, I got sponges like to wash my dishes. They're kind of on a stick. And I had them in a mason jar, boring. So I found a beautiful vase that's made out of like punch bowl glass, that real thick, and it's kind of square. Like it's so cool. And now I have something beautiful to put my washing sticks in, and it was just a few dollars at a thrift store. So it made my life better just like that.
Yeah, and it does go a little way into kind of tricking me into using my cleaning products when I do something like that.
Yeah.
Not always. But.
And Rhonda has taught me, she's an expert in this kind of stuff, and she has taught me how to tell if a mason jar is truly an antique or not, because I have hundreds of them in my aunt's basement.
Hand it to me. If I drop it and break it, it's an antique.
Yeah, right. And you're gonna love this, Rhonda. I found one that is clearly hand blown, not from a mold. It's a blue one, It's and it's got like when you look at the glass is not
Wow.
perfect or whatever. And I'm going to use it in my daughter's bathroom to hold cotton balls because I also
Nice.
found antique, just 2 metal screw lids, like the old. And it looks
The
all
zinc
like
ones?
yeah,
It's like whitish metal, sort of.
kind of, yeah. It looks like it's galvanized metal, but like it's been out in the storms or whatever. Probably because
Yep.
it was used for canning for so long. And so I found a little blue jar. It's not antique, but still. And so one for the Q-tips and one for the cotton balls. And it looks
Aw,
so cute in their bathroom. And I'm so excited. And I wouldn't have known if it wasn't for Rhonda. So thank you,
you're
Rhonda.
welcome. You're welcome.
Jen, there's a whole lot of what's ups in the chats. I say
Oh.
Jen because I don't even know how to click on them.
Gosh, guys, sorry. I was like clicked over to the banner area still. So I didn't even notice. So awesome. Let's see. Lots of happy birthdays to you. YouTube apparently doesn't believe this stream is happening.
That's interesting.
That's interesting. I don't know what you mean by that, Sage, but let's see. Lots of people having great things to say to you, Tina, about grandkids. Robin says her what's up is A is for Apple is going well, helping
Awesome.
parents fix the house up to sell. That's awesome.
Mhm.
Piper says her what's up is redoing her kitchen. Yay. Trying to pick colors and decide on
Love
countertop. Yes, that's so
I'm
exciting.
so jealous. I love picking finishes. Love it.
Me too. So my what's up, I don't even know. This morning I went to get coffee because I'm all out of coffee, so I had to actually go to McDonald's and pay for their subpar coffee. And it was beautiful out. And I got home, and when I walked in the house, it was sunny, whatever. And then all of a sudden, I'm like, who's turned out the lights? It was like it just started getting darker and darker and darker outside. I'm like, oh no, here comes a storm, and it sprinkled. And then it slowly started getting brighter and brighter and brighter. So, but I looked at the satellite because I was a little concerned, and there wasn't really anything, but there's a huge storm coming. And I'm looking out the window right now and it's getting darker and darker and darker. So if you guys lose me, it's because there's a thunderstorm really bad that we're supposed to be getting through today. So today here in Michigan, at least in my part of Michigan, hopefully not going to be any farther south and won't bother Rhonda or Tina. I'm supposed to get some bad thunderstorms. So we'll see how this goes.
I do need the rain, though.
I'm loving the rain, but I just don't want to lose the podcast.
The
I look
cooler
forward to
temperatures are nice.
Yes. But I look forward to this. Like I get excited about Fridays and about seeing everybody in chat and seeing you ladies and talking with you. So
Yeah, I know. Should we address why we didn't come last week?
oh, that's a really good idea.
Yeah. Well, one of us was under the weather, emergently, and so yeah. Well, I didn't want to out you, but
No, it's fine. And it was and not COVID related at all. I just was very, very nauseous. Like I couldn't get out of bed. I was so ill, and whatever it was a slight thing, and it swept through my whole family kind of slowly. So, but we're all better now.
yay!
Yeah.
Oh, Sage just lost power. Oh, boo! So
Aw.
she's not gonna be able to join the chat today. That's a
Aw.
bummer.
Aw.
Yeah, but I'm sure she'll hear it on the repeat there.
Piper says, I just want to go backwards a little bit in the conversation. She says, I once read not to save your favorite old stuff for best because if it
So
gets destroyed,
true.
you didn't enjoy it. That's it. She goes, so good on you for using that jar. That's exactly how I feel, Piper. I was actually a little concerned about something happening to it in my girl's bathroom. And then I thought about like, what am I going to put in a box and then never use it? So I much rather, if it breaks, it breaks. We got to be able to
I
enjoy
think your
it
girls
like
are old enough.
Not the end of
anyway.
the world.
my girls
Yeah.
are old enough, but just the idea that I know that my grandmother, who I never got to meet, my dad was the youngest of 10. So my grandmother was the same age as my great grandmother on the other side.
Wow.
But my grandmother canned with that. That just
Yeah.
is huge for me.
It's
you know,
strange that she touched what you touched, right? Yeah. Well, you will have a beautiful cotton ball holder until the first time I need to borrow a cotton ball. And
there you go.
then you will have to
Bring
take
your
it-
own.
Don't ever
Jamie.
invite Jamie to.
Yeah, I'm gonna pack my own cotton balls.
And one more, what's up? I'm only, this is Shell. I'm on day 39 of the 100-day writing challenge that she's doing. I've been getting in at least 200 words a day. Congratulations.
Shell,
on
good
That's
for
awesome.
you.
Awesome.
She's becoming
Awesome.
a better writer. She's building that writing muscle. Yay!
I would
for
like to know if
her.
she feels like it's become a habit yet.
That's
Oh.
a good question.
That's a good question. But
Yeah.
All right, so I kind of squirreled that what your transition you were doing there, Jamie, as far as like why we weren't here last week. So when one of us is ill, it doesn't mean the show has to get canceled. But when the show is largely me arguing with Jamie, that was the
Yeah.
podcast. So
I
we're
was
doing,
going to say that you were the resident expert on the topic
Yeah, you've been
of
through it once.
having a book launch, which is our topic. Let me find it because I just lost it. Why you should have a book launch strategy. And so since Jennifer's the one who's had a book launch strategy, she's kind of the resident expert, and we didn't feel like we could do that podcast without her. So you guys might remember that Nano November where everybody picked a story and then I had to write it.
Mhm.
Like they picked the plot and everything. So I
it
was
was so
kind of
great, wasn't it, Tina?
Oh yeah. Uh-huh. Not going to do it again, but it was great. Um,
Because it wasn't just the plot. We picked your characters. We picked
Yeah.
the location.
and I'm rebellious by nature, and I was like, well, I don't want to write that story. So I changed it on you guys. But anyway, so now Jamie's in the hot seat. She's getting ready to publish a book, and looking forward to how she's going to promote it. And so Jennifer and us are really trying to convince Jamie to have a book launch or tell her why she should. So Jennifer or anybody else, why do we want to have a book launch?
Well, I'm curious to hear from Jamie. Jamie, I want, because we kind of need to set up what you think or why you think someone should have a book launch, because I know that you are kind of like, but so let's hear what your perspective of book launch is, and then I will chime in.
Okay, so you want me to tell you why I think other people think I should have a book launch is what
Sure.
you're asking me? Okay.
Yeah, because I'm sure you'll tell
So-
us why you don't want to.
Right. Well, the thought is it builds anticipation for your book and gets people all excited to pull the trigger, much like you might run campaign ads before election day. You are going to try to build hype about your book before it is available for sale.
Okay. I would say that's a pretty good definition. Piper asked us, can we define a book launch? I mean, for more than just putting it up. Yes. So the opposite of a book launch is hitting publish and not telling anyone about it, right?
Which is my way of doing it.
And that's my typical MO. Yes, that is typically how I do it.
So a book launch can look lots of different ways too. So so to
Well,
define a book launch. Go ahead.
Yeah. Well, I mean, yeah, go ahead.
But ultimately a book launch is your prep work before the book comes out. And it, like Jamie, hinted at, it's going to build anticipation. It's going to help you find a potential audience. It is, oh, my notes got closed out. Great. It is something that is going to be different for each person. But the other thing too is that like it's a book launch isn't necessarily just for the book you're writing. It also is for the next book, if that makes sense. My book launch strategy for my first book, Searching for Anna, looked a little different than the book launch for the second book. And every launch is going to be a little different because I'm building a platform. Does that make sense?
Yes, and also I think the thing that's really getting me is that I am believing there's a whole lot of advertising, like the advertising part that you have to do is where I'm hung up. I understand there's probably other considerations, things like actually getting your book ready. Do you know what I'm saying? That I maybe haven't thought about, but we're going to talk through what would be involved, aren't we?
Right, exactly.
Let me add something to that too. So going along with what Jamie says right there, Jennifer, okay, do you need to be like a used car salesman to do this? Because I'm shy and I do not like being a salesperson.
Right, because like Rhonda and I have completely different objections. Rhonda's like, show up to sign books. I don't mind doing that part. I have a whole nother set of reservations. So Rhonda's question is a valid one. Writers tend to be introverts, don't they?
I would agree. That's why I think that your book launch will look nothing, Rhonda, would look nothing like my book launch. For anyone who's followed me for any length of time, you know that when I have a book launch, we have an online party, which I think everyone should do, but it doesn't have to look the same way. I am not shy. I am an introvert. I would say, but in different ways than others. I'm not shy. I can when I have to, I can chat and like that, but we'll talk about that later. But I don't think you have to be a salesperson. I am by far not a salesperson. That makes my skin crawl to even think about having to have that job. But can we, I forgot to talk about something real quick. I'm going to back up. I went to, all right. So I had these friends that own this like Mexican restaurant. So good. And I want to tell you guys about this taco that they have. Oh my gosh. So you guys know I like food. I've talked about it before. Love food. And I
Me too.
love tacos, especially Al Pastor tacos. You guys ever had Al Pastor tacos?
Yep.
Okay. Oh my gosh, they're so good. So it's like a pork that's like marinated, and it's like believe it or not, pineapple, but it's really good on there. And I've had it before, but I've never had it like when I had theirs. Oh my gosh, it was so good. And I was telling them that, and they're like, "Well, we're about to take it off the menu." And I'm like, "Why?" And they said, "Well, because no one's ordering it." And I'm like, they said we're about to stop making it because nobody's ordering it. And I'm like, well, I wonder why. So then the next day I was in there, I looked at the menu and it wasn't on there. I said, "Oh, you guys stopped making it." It goes, "No, we still have it." And I'm like, "It's not on your menu." They're like, "Yeah, we never put it on the menu." Well, then how are people supposed to know to order it? Well, we figured if it's good enough, everyone will hear about it and it'll sell. And then I'll know that it was worthy of our menu. If you put your book out there
Point taken.
and you don't tell anybody about it, no one's going to eat your taco. Jamie's silent.
I'm just
All right,
listening.
can
and
I
absorbing.
just-
Yes.
Say something.
Yes.
Gigi's comment. Jamie, your fans are waiting.
Yeah.
It's so true.
Because the whole point. Go ahead, Tina.
No, if you have something to say, finish, and then I'll transition to the next.
Because the whole point is that you're not here as a salesperson. You've written something, whether it's Christian or not. Like, so we have a lot of Christian writers that don't write Christian work that tune into us. We also have people that aren't even Christian that tune into us. But I believe that God gave you that story, whether it is because it has a Christian message or just because he intends for you to put that out there and it's a story that he gave you. And if he gave you a story, then you should be able, you should share it. There is a reason that you wrote this book and people need to have it in their hands, not because it's about you. I don't think that selling a book is ever about the author. Selling the book is about the story. And if you believe in the story enough to get it to the finish line, then you should believe enough to do the work that goes into the preparing to publish it.
I would not. Yes, I would not disagree with anything you said. In fact, I would give you a hearty yes and. And I think that the overwhelming problem, you just put your finger right on it. Anymore, selling anything is about a person and a brand. And so I, Jamie Hirschberger, have to be all of this interesting stuff for anybody to want to read my books. I just want people to want to buy my books. So to me, having like a launch party or a book signing is about, isn't Jamie interesting? And that's not what I want. I want people to read my book, not be coming and flocking because I'm interesting or quirky and it seems like, more and more you're encouraged to play this cult of personality celebrity game when you do this stuff, and you have to be polished and blah, 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 and all of these things that people expect out of a modern day celebrity, especially accessibility. And I'm just not really feeling like I want to be that. I just want to be a writer.
But who expects that?
If you don't see that in the culture, then we just have a different perspective on how the world works.
What I'm saying is the expectation will be different for each person, and you make your brand what you want your brand to be. If your brand is going to be J.R. Nichols, and J.R. Nichols is not somebody that's on, Instagram all the time and they see what you're eating for dinner, and that's okay. Like of course, there are those brands out there that everything that's happening in their families, and people eat that up. But that's not everybody. And the thing with writing too, people think that I'm going to write the great American novel, but that's not where the money is. The majority of authors that are paying bills, the majority of authors that are out there like grinding and making the money like enough to survive on it. And maybe they're not rich. Some of them are. they're mid-listers. No one even knows who they are. It's called a mid-lister. There are so many authors that the world doesn't know who they are, and they're making bank, right? Those authors are doing their own thing. You do not have to be what you see the top like 2% of celebrity is. You be Jamie, you be a mid-lister, and you do what's comfortable for Jamie, and your followers, your fans will follow along because they are like you or they're looking for work like yours.
That's wonderful, except when I haven't written a book yet and I'm launching, okay, I have 3 shorts for sale right now. So someone could go to my author page and read my look insides, and I have some sort of a like reason why someone would buy one of my books. But when I'm doing a launch and I'm unknown, all I have is my personality in these examples that we're talking about, things like a Facebook launch party. It's all up to you to somehow be impressive or somehow sell your book to people before they've read your writing, but you're trying to sell your writing. So it seems to me you're trying to sell something that you don't have like a sample for people. So it's like it is about you and your personality is how it feels to me. So how do I overcome that?
All right. I would say, first of all, like I mentioned before early on in the podcast, this launch is for this book, but it's really setting up the next book and the book after that. Okay. So you do the process of the book launch and you still sell maybe 15 books. Do not be discouraged because you have another book coming out and you've already started the process. Right?
And what's really interesting is I just saw someone in the chat mention like a reader magnet. And you want to know what I think when I see reader magnet? I'm like, another thing I have to write and like enough to put out there for people to read. I already am like stressed about doing a book that's a good enough book to read. And then people expect you to come up with these reader magnets also. And that seems like a whole nother thing you have to write and proofread and have a good cover for and be all excited about in order to get people to want to buy your book. So talk about that a little.
Your reader magnet should be whatever your first book is. So people are like, I worked so hard on that. I'm not giving that away for free. Okay, then you're going to pay for advertising. One way or another, you're going to have to put either your own work out there, like you're going to have to put in the work of doing something to get your name out there, or you're going to have to put money out there in advertising to get your name out there. I would rather put in the sweat, blood, and tears of my first book, offering it for free as well. If you go to Amazon, you can buy Searching for Anna. But if you go to my website, you can get it for free.
Awesome.
So you already have 3 books out. Just choose one.
I would also suggest that instead of looking at as you have to sell yourself, why not sell the story idea? Like, because when I tell people my story idea, I never really even mention myself. I'm telling them the idea. And that's what gets them hooked. And they say, oh, I want to read that. Mm-hmm. So maybe you could change your viewpoint to where you're not selling yourself. You're still selling the idea behind the story. So you're not necessarily giving them what you wrote, but you're giving them how you came up with the idea, what the idea is. And it whets their appetite for them to want to hear that story.
Yeah, you guys are both of you are making me feel a whole lot better about this. How are you feeling about it, Rhonda?
Well, I really love what Tina just said. That's fantastic. Really, that kind of boils down what I need to hear. Honestly, though, I was kind of looking forward to see the Jamie version of Kim Kardashian. So maybe a little of that too. I don't
ever see that happening.
What about okay, so I really like this idea of you focus on your, like, it can be custom made for me, right? Is what you're kind of saying. If I'm more of a shy person or I'm not really like someone put beautiful pictures on Insta, like if that's not who I am or whatever, I just do the pieces that work for me. But I don't know what the pieces are. And I'm sure our listeners really don't know. I have some clues, like, right? Like I think I know what you would tell me to do, but I don't know. Like if you lay it out for me, then I feel like I can pick and choose and make myself a custom outfit, so to speak, of a book launch. So what are the steps?
Okay. So if I were going to make some steps for you, I would do a simple one for you because this would be your first launch that you've ever done. Right. Yeah. And so, all right. So here are my suggestions. First of all, I would say that you need to build an email list. So I would have you go over to MailerLite or MailChimp, whichever one you're more comfortable with, and I would have you sign up for a free account. MailChimp, you get up to 2,000 subscribers before you have to start paying. MailerLite, you get like 1,000. I chose MailerLite because once you get more than 1,000 or more than 2,000, it ends up being cheaper than MailChimp, but either one of them will be fine.
Well, and Robin is saying she thinks the newsletter is a good option for me because then if you think about a newsletter is writing, isn't it?
Yes.
So then I'm selling writing. So I would like to maybe revisit with you, maybe getting together to do some of those newsletter chats you were talking about, Jen. So
Yeah.
let's talk about that off air and maybe we can, I wonder if anybody in our chat would join us for if we did schedule those. You know what I mean?
Right. My original idea was to go on, just do a live once a week where I talk about what I'm going to put in my newsletter and chat with anyone else that wants to join me about what they're going to put in their newsletters, give suggestions to each other. And it just kind of fizzled out because I'm so busy with what I've got going on in my life right now. But it would be better if it was two of us. And that way, like if I just couldn't make it, Jamie would still show up and vice versa. And it's always just better when there's two of us talking anyway. I still think that's a really good idea.
Okay.
And so let us know in chat if you guys think it's a good idea and if you would join it. I'd also like to do it in the evening so that, like, as I know we have some listeners that would love to join us in chatting, but they can't because they work during the day or they have other, we had somebody who popped in here a couple weeks ago from Hawaii that she might have a little bit more
Crazy
access
time
to.
zones.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So that's one idea. The next thing I'd have you do is I'd have you to go over to BookFunnel and I'd have you get an account. And this does cost money. It costs $20 for the entire year. But what BookFunnel is, it'll take away a ton of headaches for you. BookFunnel is what you use to give out your books. So they will, people will sign up for your newsletter and then automatically you can have them sent to BookFunnel to where they can download it. And if they have any tech issues, BookFunnel takes care of it. If they have any problems with uploading or whatever, BookFunnel has tech people. You don't have to worry about it. I never, ever, and I have in my newsletters, like for my my sequence, which you guys can go back and look at all these old podcasts that we have talking about newsletters. I have it where, like, if you have any problems, reach out to me. And I've had 2 people in all the time. And I don't have a lot of subscribers. I have less than 1,000, but I have somewhere between 500 and 1,000. I don't remember the number right now of newsletter subscribers. And I've had 2 people ever message me like, it's not working. And I help them out. Usually it's just that, like, it's in spam or something like that. But other than that, everyone else goes to BookFunnel. So I say, go to BookFunnel and get an account so we can set up your freebie. That would be the first page.
I gotta say, I really appreciate, Jen, you're really making me feel a lot better about this, but I do want to encourage listeners to go to the YouTube or wherever you can find this chat and just mine it, because our chatters are giving some gold information in there. And we don't have time to read it all on the air. It's really great to have this awesome community of people chiming in. But I do have a question about my freebie. So everybody's saying, look, you already have 3 shorts, blah, 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 but they're not the same genre as what I wrote. See, and that's where I have a problem, is because I am not a genre specific writer, you see? And so I get everybody all excited about a quirky, funny story about a raccoon. And then I lay on them this dystopian, serious thing that I'm writing. And that doesn't really match. Yeah.
There are people you follow because of the series they're writing, and then there are people you follow because of their writing style.
Okay.
And you are a writing style person.
So how do you market that? Like, if you say, like, free story, like, it feels free, well-written story.
Alternatively, you could give away the first chapter.
Oh, okay.
And then not only does that give them a sample of the book, but it also hooks them. I mean, because isn't that our goal in the first place, is to hook somebody in the first chapter?
How does that work as a reader magnet, I wonder, versus like a free first book? I wonder if people would pull the trigger on a free first chapter.
I would do that first, I think. Because I want to know what the book that I'm getting ready to read is about, not something else.
I love Jen's idea of doing both, though, because then it can be like, here's how I write, here's a free story, and here's the beginning of the first book. I like that. Okay, anyway, sorry, not to make this too personal, because this is about me, but I want it to be general enough to serve anybody who's thinking about a book launch. So you would send me the next to BookFunnel. Okay, got it. And BookFunnel is to disseminate my books. Great. Then
and then the next thing I want you to do, we already talked about this, you're going to start giving away a book. You just talked about that. And then after that, I want you to start promoting your free book through social media. Now, here's where I know you're starting to cringe.
Yes.
But I want you to use graphics that are made by friends that owe you big time. Let me repeat this. Friends that owe you big time. And there are a couple sitting right here that would love to do some graphics for you that owe you big time.
Mm-hmm.
For those of you that don't know, Jamie edits for us for free. And I don't mean just like we do critique and like that, but no, Jamie will do a professional, like full on edit for for the three of us for free. And I love doing graphics. I would love nothing more than do that. And I know there's other ladies sitting here that would say, me too.
Yep.
So this is a perfect opportunity for other listeners. This is a perfect opportunity for you to barter your skills. If you are not good at graphics, but you're good at editing, find someone out there that's good at graphics, but needs somebody to edit some things for them for free and trade out the work, or vice versa. If you're really good at graphics, but you're not really good at editing, find someone that you want to help them and they can help you. Great place to barter. Okay. Then we're going to start working on your newsletter. Once you start doing the social media and you start getting people to sign up for your newsletter, then we're going to start putting out a newsletter on a regular basis, which this is where we talked about us doing newsletter chat, because that really would help me. I've not put my newsletter out in a while because life has just been happening to me, right? And then I want you to start to interact on social media. Again, I know your skin is crawling, but guess what? You can put whatever you put in your newsletter, you can put that right in your social media. You can take pieces of it and tweet it. You can just take it and remine it. I've taken before and done a social media post and been like, oh, that was pretty good, and that was my newsletter. I just copied it and pasted it. It's okay to do that, especially at the beginning when you don't have a lot of time and we're just trying to get you established out there for people to see like who you are and what you're writing. Again, visual graphics of your writing. You can take little bits of what you wrote and we can make screenshots and you can share that. That's big. People love to read, especially when you are the kind of person that you're writing. There's so much that can be mined for just like a little snippet. You have like such a way, don't you think so, Rhonda? I can see Rhonda nodding her head.
Yeah.
Like you have such a way of like just putting things like just poetically that we're like, oh, that's such a great line. Take one of those lines and we tweet it, or we put it on Instagram or whatever. So we can do that. And then, so that's all
Real
like the
quick,
legwork.
before you move on, can we just touch on the idea of 7 touches for those
go
who
ahead.
haven't heard that? The research, I guess is what word you would use, shows that it takes 7 touches for somebody to purchase your product. So they have to see something about it 7 times before they take an action. And so each of these things that you're doing is one of those 7 touches.
Right. And this might sound like a lot of stuff to do, but really it's more of like a little process, right? If you're already going to do the newsletter, let's just piece out things of it and we'll make little graphics for you just to throw up there. Schedule it with Hootsuite, which is free up to a certain number of things. Like you can do 30 at a time and it's free. And then you don't have to think about this kind of stuff. So I don't want you to like feel like this is going to be huge, like a huge amount of work for you.
Yeah.
Also, you already have books out there. So let's take some of your reviews down. And not down, like let's pull them out. Yeah, let's pull them out and make graphics out of those, and then we can schedule those over the next several weeks. Like if we pull out 7 of them, we got 7 weeks, and then we'll just do review Wednesday or whatever, and you just like put it out there. It's already done. Like that's just the job of doing the graphic for it, right? And then now this is when after we start doing that, this is when we start really building the excitement for the book. We're going to do a cover reveal. Again, graphics. Countdown to the release date. Again, graphics made by people who owe you big time. This is not something, and I know you can do this. Like you're a GIMP expert now. I've seen your skills.
Yeah.
Luckily, only in private chats you sent me. She likes to take pictures of me and put things on my head or whatever and send them to me. But you could do these.
And I make wanted posters of my husband.
Yeah.
Hang them up around the house.
So good.
He's so happy that you taught me how to do photo manipulation.
Tell me I said you're welcome.
You guys, yeah.
And I just have to say that there's people that owe you big time too that could do all the Hootsuite scheduling and putting that stuff in there once a month. I mean, that's not a big deal.
I just want to remind everybody, though, when they're hearing all of this, I want people to realize, we just mentioned that Christina's granddaughter is turning 3. And I knew Christina when her granddaughter was still cooking. so to speak. And so it's not like I just magically walked up to these ladies and now they owe me. Like, I've been investing in building relationships with people for years. And so you can't really expect that to happen for you until and unless you plug in with some people and start supporting them before you need any support of your own. So don't just be sort of greedy and go out to make writerly friends to see what you can get out of them. Just go out and make some writerly friends and love one another. And then before you know it, you'll have a community to support you when you have things that need to happen for yourself. Because I would do anything for these ladies to help their career. And I know that they feel that way about me. And that's a really wonderful thing to have, but it doesn't just happen. You have to work at it.
Right.
That is so true. And again, I don't want to keep sending people back to old podcasts, but we have old podcasts specifically about starting a writing group. And it is so important. We've been together since, I still had my bandages on me, I think, from my cancer. So like we're talking almost 4 years now that we built these relationships. So it's very, very important to have a writing group. And as you guys can see from this writing group, we don't all have the same personality. We're all very different. So it's good to find people that are different from you because we bring different strengths to the table. Right.
So did you have more, Jennifer, or are we ready to transition to the feeding of the backs?
I have one bonus.
Awesome.
This is bonus. And I don't think she's going to want to do it. And I don't think Rhonda's going to want to do it, but it is a bonus. So that's why I made it the bonus. The bonus piece of advice is a release party. Now, I know that might make your skin crawl. It might make you think, no, I'm too shy. But listen, here's what you have to do. Online. I don't know that I ever want to do one in person. My husband keeps saying, when are we going to do a real like release party? And I'm like, never. Because he's like all about parties and being around people. And I'm all like staying in my office.
He's all about celebrating you and your he's super supportive. Let's give a shout out. He's great.
So online is fine. And it rhymes a lot. Also, have an MC. If you followed me for very long at all, you know that I have an MC. I have somebody there, and it is Jamie. Again, I owe her big time, but Jamie's really great at that, about asking the right question. We had kind of like a list of questions or whatever, and she keeps it going. So it doesn't feel like you're just sitting there staring at, talking to the camera all by yourself. Find someone that just wants to have a chat with you. We call it, like, usually we have tea, like at the first one, and dessert. We eat dessert while we're doing it. Find something that is just fun. Like, it doesn't have to be this professional thing. Like Jamie said a couple weeks ago about our podcast, it's very homemade. Like, there's a lot of professional podcasts out there in the world. This is not one of them. But we have fun, right? So think about that with your launch party. It doesn't have to be professional. It just needs to be you guys. We could order pizza at my house, your house, and we could be eating it and like talking and whatever is true to being you. That's what you do during your release party. And we're probably going to have I think we did have an episode on release parties. Actually, we did. So go back and see that. But
yeah, I'm going to go back and find our book funnel episode and I'm going to watch that. And I'm going to go and look at our book release party episode and watch that in all of the time that I should be probably editing my book. But I will still feel like I'm achieving something. Because again, just to remind everybody, my book isn't done. We're having this conversation now because I want to launch on October 13th. So think how much time in advance we're discussing this. And we even talked about it had to be this week, or it might be a little too late to build the kind of momentum Jen is talking about to have a successful launch. So the plan is, much like we kind of corralled Tina and forced her to do something, the girls are all really hoping that I'm going to give a blind yes to just sign on to whatever they prescribe me. But Tina taught me a lesson to be like, I will give you my answer next week. So I'm going to evaluate all this stuff that Jennifer said to do. I'm going to implement some of it. And then I'll report next week in my What's Up or my going forward, whatever, how much of it I plan to implement. And we'll watch the results and see how they do. So thanks, ladies.
Okay. Are we clear now?
Yes.
Okay. So now it's time for the feeding of the backs. And if you're wondering what kind of crazy thing that is, it's because we are giving each other feedback. And we always ask, is your back well fed? So this was a writing sprint where we had a prompt. We wrote for 15 minutes. We didn't have time to plan, and we didn't have time to edit. And so because of that, because this is raw and unedited, we do only give positive feedback to each other. So we did that, and we had a writing prompt. Does anybody remember? It was 5 words. Disco, portion, prospect, parking, and Oregon. And so I have a little tradition that I like to do, and it's called making Rhonda go first
I knew
when I'm
it.
the host.
I knew it.
I like
Okay.
that tradition.
I do too.
All right. Well, let me just tell you, I had an emergency phone call in the middle of my sprint, so it's a little shorter than even usual.
Rhonda,
So-
just once I want you to say, my sprint rocks. I can't wait for everybody
Right.
to hear it. Just one time.
One time.
One time.
That's not how I was raised. Okay. I can't help myself. I must peek in some of these boxes. I've offered to help her unpack so it wouldn't be snooping, right? No, I should wait for her to get back here before I go through her things. I turn away from the tantalizing stack of boxes and try to return to my own work, scanning my legal pad for the next task. Ew, none of these chores are calling to me. Turning back into the foyer, the boxes recapture my attention. The top box isn't even taped. If I lift the corner just a little, I could tell if there were dishes inside. That's something that I could definitely help her put away. I push on the edge a little with my fingertip, but it doesn't budge. I'm sure it's loose, so just a little more pressure should do it. I try the other side, and sure enough, I'm able to pry the lid off. That's as far as I got.
You're very
Anyway, I'm full of
snoopy.
disco records.
Are you Nancy Drew? Oh, it's full of disco records?
Yeah.
How fun.
Ah, I was going to say, did I inspire this at all? I was
I
wondering what was
know.
inside.
I thought you were unpacking
Yeah.
at Jennifer's house. Were you unpacking at Jennifer's house? Jennifer has a secret stash of disco records.
I
wish.
didn't mean to give it away. I'm sorry, Jennifer.
I wish.
Rhonda, about your writing, the word tantalizing totally popped out at me because
Thank
yes, it does lure you, right? When someone leaves their private stuff, like, oh my goodness, for every man is tempted when he is drawn away of his own
Yeah.
lust. Yes.
Right.
And then when it recaptures your attention later in the story, wonderful. Just great words there. You do a
Thank you.
very, very good job. I was
Mhm.
in it immediately.
Thank you.
Agreed. Love it.
Yes, it's wonderful. Okay, let's have Jennifer go next.
Okay. I did not get all the words in. And this is my elderly couple. Not
Oh,
elderly,
I
my
love
older
that.
couple.
Do you
But
have
I can,
names?
okay, so that's what I was going to say. Is I can never remember the names. And I start writing, and then I'm like, they have different names every time.
I think it might be Fred and Wanda, but I could be wrong.
Oh,
Wanda,
Oh, Wanda
right?
sounds right.
Wanda
That's-
sounds right.
Maybe, but
Hank? Hank and Wanda? Anyway.
today they're Mabel and Sam.
Oh, I love it. Okay.
Whatever. Okay, here we go.
Maybe they're like witness protection people and they just
Yeah.
have to keep their
Oh.
name.
They can't ever remember, which is going to be great as they age. What's my name? What's your name? Who knows? Who cares? I'll just call you wife and you call me husband. We'll be
Oh,
good.
see, Jamie, that's a story you could totally write.
Well, it's probably a
Oh.
story I'm going to end up living.
That's gonna be your life, right?
Yes.
Well,
All
you
right,
can
here we
just go with mom and dad. Then you don't have to remember 'em.
Mm.
Yeah.
Call each other mom and dad. Go. I'm
Because my
sorry,
parents might
Jennifer.
think I'm writing about them. That would be a problem. Okay, here we go. There's a parking spot right there, Mabel yelled, pointing fervently through the windshield. Sam shook his head. That old pickup is parked too close. There's not enough room. Mabel threw her hands in the air, disgusted by the prospect of being late for her appointment. Then could you just drop me off at the door? Look, something's opening up in the front row. Sam swung the car around and pulled into a recently vacated spot. See, isn't that better? Mabel's eyes darted back and forth between the front door and the spot the car now occupied, judging the distance to be about 50 feet. Oh yeah, this is so much better than being dropped off at the door. Sam shrugged. I didn't know you wanted to be dropped off. Seriously? What wasn't so obvious? The fact that I specifically asked you to drop me off, or the fact that it is just common sense to drop your cancer patient wife off at the door so she doesn't
Aw.
have to walk a football field to get to her chemotherapy? When did you ask? When you were too busy Christopher Columbusing the parking lot, discovering the perfect spot. She threw open her door and slammed it shut behind her. She bent over and yelled through the closed window at her husband, who still sat in the driver's seat. And even if I hadn't asked, you should have just thought about me first, not your stupid, precious paint job getting scratched. Although she had lamented the length of the walk she had to make, in her angered state, Mabel traversed it in record speed. She signed in, gave the receptionist her best, "No, I didn't just argue with my husband in your parking lot. That must have been someone else you heard inside here," smile, and took a seat with her back to the door. She was fuming and prayed that her husband had the good sense to keep his distance from her. But the longer she sat there alone, the angrier she got. Was he really going to make her go through this alone? What was he going to do? Sit in the car in this heat? He was far too cheap to keep the car running for the air conditioning. 3, 2, 1.
Oh, I
Aw.
love them. I love your voice when you write them. I love
too.
long hyphenated, no, that wasn't me arguing in the
Ugh.
parking lot. I love that kind of stuff. Like that's my wheelhouse, that kind of writing. I love it.
Oh, thanks.
They're so fun. I love that couple. I don't care what their names are. Call them whatever you want.
I don't
Yeah.
know.
They're
I
all
really
good.
love that she can be, fighting cancer and still be human and get angry at her
Right.
husband and throw a little temper tantrum
Mhm.
and all that and be real.
yeah,
And
she's
then he
not
can
like a sainted sick person, right?
Right. And then he can still make mistakes too. Like just because she has cancer doesn't mean he's going to do everything right. He's
Yeah.
not.
Right.
Like that's just human life, right?
Very
So,
real.
Right.
Very real.
yeah. I'm not
Yeah,
saying
that
that I live this or anything.
I was
No,
gonna
I
say
didn't.
this must
Close.
be based on somebody somehow, at least a little bit, because you add little nuances that just add so much to the characters.
I did not have to go through chemotherapy. I did radiation. So that part was not true to life, but I have had similar arguments with my husband. So there's bits and pieces, I will say that. But it's not exactly this. But yeah, so I think that's probably why we love these characters so much, is it's when I just kind of unleash like the true when Jen makes mistakes moments into this woman.
Raise of hands of anybody who hasn't had similar arguments with their husband about how he should have read their mind and dropped them off at the door or bought them flowers or whatever, fill in the blank.
Zero
I
hands.
see nobody hand.
Up, right? Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. Okay, well, I'm going to go next so that it kind of breaks up me talking.
Sounds good.
Not that I have a problem with talking a lot, but so this one has nothing to do with my life at all. And it's not even particularly this is never going to win like any kind of writing awards is what I'm trying to say.
Did you get all the 5 words?
I did get all the
Good
5
for
words.
you. Are you the only
And,
one? I think she's the only one.
I think she's the only one.
Yay,
yeah.
Tina.
It's about as exciting as a parking lot. So
Well,
here we go. The prospect of starting a disco in a strip mall hadn't really appealed to Jeremy when it was first presented to him. But over time, his brother-in-law and his wife, well, mostly his wife, had worn him down. As he stood in the parking lot and looked at the flashing neon sign that read, "Disco Lives Again," doubts began to creep in. His portion of the strip mall stood between the organ sales and service shop and the popcorn depot. The rest of the storefronts were various forms of businesses like a tax preparation chain, a shoe store, and the Secretary of State. Didn't really scream, "Hey, let's dress up in retro and go boogie the night away." Jeremy sighed. How did he get himself into these things? A pretty girl with auburn locks and gorgeous green eyes, that's how. When she batted her perfect eyelashes at him, a pout on her lips, and implored him with, "This is my little brother. He needs our support," there was simply no way to tell her no. All of his friends made snide remarks about him being wrapped around her fingers, and worse. It bothered him a little, right until he walked in the front door, and there she was, warm and soft with her arms around his neck, making him feel like a king returning to his castle after winning a battle for the safety of the kingdom. One kiss is all it took, and he was like pudding in her hands. Manliness and chest pounding had little allure to the way she made him feel. Jeremy approached the door, and it swung open. His brother-in-law stood in the doorway, grinning like a Cheshire cat. "Isn't it awesome, dude? Do you love it? This is going to be so great." Jeremy smiled, trying to hide his skepticism. Then she appeared, coming through the door of hanging beads from the back, wearing a long white flowing skirt and a bohemian blouse embroidered with wildflowers. Her hair hung down in her back in waves, and a wreath of white flowers adorned her head. "Are you ready to boogie with me?" she asked, slipping her arms around his neck, and all his doubts slipped away into the recesses where thoughts go to wait for the perfect moment to come back and bite you.
so
that was
not
so
bad.
sweet.
So
Yeah.
not boring.
No.
What?
I love that I don't have it. I should have written it down. That her hug was more important than the chest
chest
beating.
pounding,
Yeah, that was
yeah.
chest pounding. That was good. So, but all right. So it's a sprint, and this is what I love about sprints. And I love that people get to listen to our raw writing too, so that they don't like compare our good stuff with what they're doing. Right?
Mhm.
Is that like, so she had her arms wrapped around his neck and she was there, and the next moment she's in the back coming back out. Right? So that you would catch that, or is it someone
well,
else?
he was kind of thinking about
Yeah, it was a
like when he
flashback.
when he comes home and she's there to wrap her arms around him.
Mhm.
He forgets about all the
Yeah.
comments that his friends made, and
I see. I missed that it was a
Yeah.
flashback because I'm not
Which-
reading it. I'm listening. So that's the difference. So
Which
Yeah.
I don't care, ladies, what you think you look like. Your man feels that way about you. I know it's hard to believe, but it's really true. It
What do you mean
really
it's hard
is.
to believe?
I know, but it's really true. And how wonderful. Was this a little bit secretly about a certain grandpa's love for a certain little girl or not?
no,
Okay.
I just was trying to fit disco and parking lot
Oh,
together.
got it. I loved how you described what she was wearing because you did it, in my opinion, perfectly. Bohemian blouse embroidered with wildflowers. You don't
Totally
have to
are.
say what kind of fabric or what color the flowers were. It was just enough. Beautiful. Loved it. White skirt, flower crown. None of this forever and a day about it was made of linen and crinkly. In other words, just the kind of description I love. I really liked it, Tina.
Thank you. Okay, Jamie, I guess it's your turn.
All righty. Here goes nothing. I think I got 3 out of 5 of the words. Oh, and one more comment on Tina's. When if she would have told me the word strip appeared in her story, I would have been very scared. I'm so glad that it was a strip mall.
Yep.
All right, here we go. A little music should put us in the mood. She put the needle on the record, and the synthesized sounds of Midnight Star's No Parking on the Dance Floor filled the room. I don't want to wear this. Matthew stood in front of Sonia's full-length mirror, tugging on the jet black afro wig Sonia had plopped on his head 3 seconds before. But you have to. Our costume is a disco theme. Can't we just wear the costume I suggested? Sonia popped a hip and perched her hand upon it. I am not going to wear that slinky nurse costume you bought for me. Matthew's shoulders fell. But I always wanted to be Dr. Mario. Look, if you don't want to be Florence, make your Nightingale, maybe you could dress up like a yellow and blue pill, like from the game. And maybe this coming Thanksgiving can be your first as a newly single male. That might not be so bad. After all, doctors have lots of prospects. Doctors may, but out-of-work plumbers tend to fall between the cracks in the dating world. I thought we agreed. No more plumber crack jokes. Sorry, you're forgiven. As long as you don't make me wear that. He was side-eyeing the polyester jumpsuit Sonia had pulled from her ridiculously full closet. It was sky blue with yellow stripes reminiscent of the racing stripes painted on the side of stock cars and featured gigantic bicolored bell-bottom flares. It was made of a slick fabric that gathered in on itself, making it look impossibly tight. That would make me look like Bozo the Clown, and I'd be uncomfortable all night. Like, I might get cold. He crossed his arms, placing a protective palm over each of his currently t-shirt-covered nipples. And I have some justifiable concerns about how I'm expected to conceal a particular organ. It's the same colors you wanted for my costume. You should be happy with it. But isn't it just as bad as making you dress up like a sexy nurse? Sonia attempted to hold the shriveled bodysuit up against Matthew's form. They stared at the mirror together. You really think someone's going to find this look sexy? Fair enough. 3, 2, 1.
Florence, make your Nightingale. I do not want to know where that name came from.
I don't know.
That's hilarious. Oh. I'm gonna have to tuck that one away.
When you said you used 3 of the 5, I would not have guessed that Oregon would have been one of them.
Well, like I thought when I saw disco and that word, that was exactly what came to mind, is that tight clothes that they all used to wear. Like, I don't know. That's where my thoughts are running today.
What people don't know is those of you that are listening and watching right now is that you don't see the beforehand. So before we got started, I read the words that were generated 2 weeks ago because we were supposed to have done this last week. And so they were generated early and I'm like, what are we going to do with this? And Jamie was like, I already got an idea. Like she was already like, yeah, like, let's get writing. Oh, that's awesome. Loved it.
Thanks a lot, guys.
Oh, Tina, you are muted, sweetheart. That's why it's so quiet now.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm over here hosting and nobody can hear me. Anyway, I was saying it was great writing. It was hilarious and I loved it, Jamie.
Thanks. Appreciate it.
Okay, so now we're going to transition into the What's Next segment of our podcast. And that's where we all go around and say what's next. So let's start with Jennifer because she's on the top left.
I was going to ask if I could go last. Can I make that request? I've never requested that before.
We'll go over to Rhonda then.
Well, actually, last week I started, got back into my schedule. It had been messed up for a few weeks. And I had a really successful week just getting things done and kind of getting back into the swing of writing and social media and all that. So I'm just going to continue with that this week and try to ingrain some good habits and maybe produce even more.
Awesome. What about you, Jamie?
Well, I obviously have a big old list of decisions to make, as evidenced here by my little notepad. But one thing I think I do want to commit to right now is to further explore this newsletter idea with Jennifer, because once upon a time I did set up, I set up something and I'm going to go research and whatever. But like, that's a way to show people what my writing is. It doesn't feel so self-promo-y to me. So I think that my goal for next week is to have the newsletter component at least figured out how I'm going to handle it, and to even maybe be able to say, Jen and I are going to have newsletter chat, whatever, starting whenever day. Like, that's my hope.
Because you're very talented at newsletters. If you are listening or watching this and you don't subscribe to our newsletter, Jamie writes it for us every week, and it is enjoyable. So you need to go sign up for it. But so that's a great place for you to start, honestly,
I appreciate that. Would you guys care if I put a link to like podcast information in my newsletter? Like, could I use that as a regular?
I do every
this week on the podcast kind of thing.
I do every week. I do every time. Yeah.
Because there's something automatically I could put in there that I don't even have to work to think of putting in my newsletter.
Yep.
Right.
Okay. Anyway, sorry. That's my what's next. Who's next?
Mine is have anyone who's read the Pilgrim's Progress? Do you remember like the Slough of Despond? It was like a swamp that he had to like get across.
Oh yeah.
That's where I am. Like I'm editing, and it just seems like I'm like trying to pull my feet out of the muck every step. You know, like And I guess I'm not despondent about it, but it's just work, and it's slow and steady, and that's what I'm doing. So, and I am making progress. So maybe I'll be having launch parties and stuff right alongside Jamie, and maybe it'll be a little bit longer. But
I would love for you to have a goal to try to finish. Like, we could go through this process together. It would not feel like we're competing along. Like, to me, I would be so happy to have a friend to be like, how's it going for you, or whatever. So if you could kind of try to like make some deadline to where you would want to try to launch around the time that I am, or even December, maybe, I would really, really like that, Tina. So I would like to encourage you to get like, I'm going to finish. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. I'm working on it.
Awesome. We got lots of what's next in the chat. What is Author Tube Karaoke, Sage?
Right, so let's do that. Yeah, let's look at. So Sage says her what's next is Author Tube Karaoke tomorrow, quarantine haircut, and weekend of reading. Okay, Sage, we want to know when and where, because if it's karaoke, Jamie's there. You have no idea. Jamie is like a living jukebox for us. So like this will be
her life is a musical.
Yeah,
her life for sure is a musical. And Piper says that she met with a coach this week and setting up a schedule to get more writing time. Awesome.
Yeah.
She's also going to check out Hootsuite to see if I can better handle my social media. Yes, you're going to love it. There's another one called Tailwind that I love, and you can do a free trial with it, but it costs money. And that's why. So if you, I think that when you're established and you're making good money, that it would be a good switch. But Hootsuite
Jennifer,
is where to start.
I know we're trying to be real quick to keep it under an hour, but can we stop for just a second? Should a book launch be an expensive thing?
No.
Now, I know a cover is going to cost people money if they can't barter it. And I know editing is going to cost people money if they can't barter for it. But a book launch, you shouldn't pay someone to do a book launch for you.
I do not believe so.
Okay, because like there are people out there who will charge you or kind of whatever. I mean, you know what I mean?
Right. And remember at the list I gave you, and it was a simple book launch, $20 is what you're going to pay for BookFunnel. That should be the extent of it, really, so.
Okay,
thank you. Somebody had suggested an alternative to BookFunnel that was free.
Okay.
But you would have to research, the quality of that. But
Thanks.
Right.
Sorry to interrupt.
I can give Book Funnel a thumbs up. I don't know about anything else, but there probably are other alternatives out
It was
there.
in the chat somewhere, so if somebody's interested in trying to find a free one.
Shell's working on a resume. Her boss, who's also her mom, is retiring and she needs to start looking for a new job.
Well, to mom, I guess.
Yeah.
Hey, mom, but like, good luck on the job hunt, Shell.
Robin, what's next? Finishing a short story, finish 2 beta reads, and play with her new Kanban board. I don't know what that is.
Oh.
Gigi says, oh, she's good luck, saying good luck. Sorry. I'm just trying to click through these real quick. And I'm really sorry, ladies and gentlemen, that we didn't share everything as much as we usually do. It was kind of one of those episodes that
But it was so full. Like how could you pick? So many people were giving so much good advice. I'm telling you, our chatters are amazing.
So if you're listening to this or watching it later, if you're listening to it, especially, go on over to YouTube and take a look at all these great pieces of advice. Okay, so my what's next? I was not in office hours a whole lot this week, and there's a reason. Because on Monday I finished Phoebe's book.
You did? Yeah.
No way.
Hey.
So
like, what did you do? Did you have a marathon? What did you do?
I just was close and I just kept working. And on Monday, we were working together and I finished it in our last sprint. And I'm like, should I keep it till Friday or should I tell them? And I was going to tell you guys, I'm like, I can't hold this in. I got to tell them. And when we came out of the sprint, Jamie was like, all right, I got to go. Bye guys. And everyone else like, bye. And everyone just went and I just stared at the screen at myself. I'm like, well, there's my answer.
Oh, I'm so glad you got to celebrate with all of our chat friends and announce it. Because it's been an editing HE double hockey sticks.
Oh my gosh.
For a really long time. And how long have you been working? Like, this was your first draft from how long ago? How many years?
Since before we were for 4 years now.
Wow.
Over 4 years. And yeah. Whew. So of course it is draft 1. But I've not been able to say this yet, that this is in draft 1 state. And this book is draft 1 and it is put away for, well, not probably as long as I usually do. And so, but yeah, so I don't even know what else to say. Like,
the chat room is celebrating. They are giving you virtual cake.
I see that.
Little horns blowing and stuff like that. Really cute. You guys.
Thank you. Cake for Jen. Yes. I agree.
Awesome.
You, everyone.
That's awesome
That's
news.
Really great. I can't wait to hear Tina's. Same. And I can't wait till I can say, like, way to go, Jen. That's very exciting. So good job.
Okay. Does anyone have anything else they need to say? Okay, so this concludes the Christian Indie Writers Podcast. So until next week, may your pen be prolific, your deadlines be met, and may all of your words honor Christ. See you later.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.